good evening, everyone, depending on where you are joining us from today. Welcome to our webinar, Transforming Childcare, Global Religious Communities Leading the Way, Part 1. I am Sister Niluka Pereira, the coordinator of Catholic Care for Children International. We are delighted to have you with us today. As you know, Catholic Care for Children International is a project of the UISG, Union of International Superiors General, to support religious communities around the world in finding better care options for children in need of our care and support. Both scripture and science affirm that children need families. Globally, care reform is gaining momentum, shifting from institutional care to family and community-based care. Religious communities around the world are adapting their approaches to childcare. CCCI, Catholic Care for Children International, serves as a global platform for women religious to facilitating learning from one another. So with this in mind, we have invited religious leaders who are committed to finding the best care options for children to share their learnings and experiences with the wider community. So before we begin, I invite Sister Solange to lead us in prayer. Sister Solange is the Communications Officer of the Catholic Care for Children International. Sister Solange, over to you, Sister. You're muted, Sister.
Let us take a few moments in silence to become aware of the Spirit of God within us, among us, and all around us, inviting us to enter in conversation with openness and trust. In the name of the Father, the Son, and the Holy Spirit. Eternal Father, your love for your children is infinite. Your mercy has no limits, and your compassion is endless. We give you thanks, and we place this moment of sharing in your hands, so that you touch our hearts and our understanding with your Holy Spirit. May He enlighten all the participants in this webinar. May we understand the importance and the merits of this transformation of childcare, so that through us, children can grow and flourish in an environment that is favorable to them. Inspire us in our approach for the good of children. and for your greater glory. Amen. Over to you, Sister Niluka.
Thank you, Sister Solange. Today we have invited 4 religious leaders to share their journeys. They will discuss how they found the best care options for the children they serve. A warm welcome to our 4 panelists, Sister Maria Socorro from the Philippines, Sister Azarias Arukia from India, Brother Nicholas Nuangira from Uganda, and Sister Mualula Yvonne from Zambia. Thank you for accepting our invitation to be part of this webinar. We will start our conversation today by hearing from each panelist. First, within a minute of time, each will introduce themselves. After the introductory session, they will share how their institutes respond to the care needs of the children in today's context. We will have 2 rounds of discussion with the panelists, during which we invite all webinar participants to submit questions using the chat box. At the top of the hour, we will invite the panelists to respond to your questions for the next half hour before we conclude. Please note that today's conversation is being recorded. We will share the recordings in English, French, Italian, and Spanish via email for those who are unable to join our live discussions today. So let's begin the conversation with brief introductions of each of today's speakers. First, I invite Sister Maria Socorro. Sister Maria, could you briefly share who you are, what you do, and where you work?
Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. I am Sister Maria Socorro Pilar Evidente, a daughter of charity from the Philippines. Presently, I am the superintendent of all the institutions, centers under the Social Welfare and Development Ministry of the province of St. Luis de Maria, Asia. In the Philippines, I supervise 5 social welfare and development agencies. 3 of them are child-caring institutions. 1 of them is the oldest orphanage in the Philippines, dating back to 1810, and 2 homes for older persons, while 1 is a community-based center. In our country, we, the Daughters of Charity, have refocused and committed ourselves to keeping children in families and moving towards family solutions for those under our residential care. I am also the safeguarding officer of our Provincial Commission for the Protection of Minors and Vulnerable Adults. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister. Now I invite Brother Nicholas. Could you share a bit about who you are and what you do, brother?
Thank you. I'm Brother Nicholas Nwajira. I belong to the Brothers of St. Charles Ruanga, Vanaka Road Brothers, locally. I am currently the administrator of St. Mgaga Boys Home. St. Mgaga is in the Diocese of Jinja. We take care of children. We used to have a child care institution. Currently, we have not yet closed, but very soon we hope to change the mode of care. We have transitioned so far 93% of the children who used to stay in that child care institution. And we are seeing forward to see that we start the way taking care of children and preventing those children who would be abandoned through different programs that we will share in details. Thank you very much.
Thank you, brother. Now I invite Sister Asarias. It's your turn, sister. Please tell us about yourself. Sister Asarias.
Yes, thank you. Good evening to all. And I am Sister Asarias Emeritus LV. I am a Salesian Sisters of Don Bosco. I'm from India. Currently, I'm heading the National Development Forum of the Salesian Sisters of India. This is the National Coordinating of Office of the Developmental Initiatives of FMA India. And we engage in initiatives, developmental activities for children, women, youth, as well as for environmental initiatives. Currently, we are focused on helping out the children at risk. We call them as YAR, that is children at risk, and we engage in strengthening the families and the community-based care. In India right now, 15 CCIs are focused in this particular work of reintegrating children and ensuring that children have a family for them. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Asarias. Sister Yvonne, could you introduce yourself and tell us about your role?
Okay, thank you. Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening. So I am Sister Yvonne Mwila Mwalula. I belong to the Sisters of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary. At the moment, I am a counselor on the General Council and with the responsibility as Director of Mission Development Office. And my role currently is to support our mission projects, our ministries throughout the world in the different countries where we are working. Yeah, and the different projects are involved in different things that they do. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Yvonne. Now, let's hear more in depth from each of our speakers. Gianluca, please can you unmute? Okay. So now I turn to Sister Maria Socorro. Sister Maria, could you help us understand what led your congregation, the Daughters of Charity, to value that the best place for children to grow is within a family rather than an institution? How did your congregation promote this idea and convince stakeholders to support it? Sister Maria, over to you, sister.
There is no doubt that the family is the best environment for children to grow up as normal human beings, because the family can offer support and security coupled with unconditional love. Our family is how we start to define ourselves, our world, our values. They are the foundation from which we grow. They provide us support, encouragement, love, a place to run to. No matter how much love we shower on the children in our institutions, how much we provide for their education and their basic needs, and exhaust all social activities to make them happy, we can never give as much individual care, attention, affection, nourishment as parents, siblings, and extended families can shower on every child. We know that for a fact because most of us here grew up with families. The caregivers in our children's homes come and go. They go on shifts and are not able to give a one-on-one care for each child. Furthermore, they don't have that emotional bond with the children to intuit into their feelings and needs. Actually, the value of having a family for each child placed in our institutions has been upheld for many years already by our congregation. With all the efforts we have spent in preparing the documents of the children who are orphaned, abandoned, and surrendered, and submitting them to our government's Department of Social Welfare and Development so that the children could have alternative families early in life. We have already placed hundreds of children to adoptive families, local and abroad. Testimonies of how family life have made them the successful persons that they are now can be tear-jerking. It makes one feel so good that we have made the right decision to let go of them and entrust them to parents who can love them far, far beyond what we can give. In every entrustment ceremony, I always admit that our love for children can never be equal to what they will receive from their new parents. It is always a time of joy to hand over in the midst of so many tears, especially caregivers. We should always strive to entrust them the soonest possible time to families who will provide them with nurturing, stable, and personalized environment where they can thrive and develop their God-given potentials. We have also for years had a practice of reunifying the children back to their biological families and into kinship care. However, after the administrators of our child caring institutions attended the CCCI online course on moving towards family solutions, we were inspired to work harder to shorten the stay of the children. We discovered and valued the practice of gatekeeping and moved our resources towards strengthening families, providing families with their urgent needs to prevent institutionalization as a solution to their problems. Accomplishments at the end of the year of our social service institutions had to show their success on moving children fast to families. It was not hard to convince our stakeholders about the new thrust. The superiors have accepted the new movement towards family solutions. The sisters in the whole province are slowly accepting its advantages. For children and families, dialogues with them were intensified. We had echo seminars to all our employees. We also hence they became more urged to really work for minimizing the length of stay of the children. We informed our partners and sponsors of the children and encouraged them to continue their support even if the children were no longer under residential care. Referring parties like the DSWD and others were urged to exhaust other community-based solutions, having institutionalization as the last resort. I, as supervisor, conduct follow-up meetings and getting reports on the progress of each institution, giving guidance when cases are hard to place. Up to date, one of our biggest institutions was able to move to families 41 children since we attended the CCCI course last year. And big leaps have also been accomplished by the other two childcare institutions. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Sister Maria Socorro. Now I would like to turn to Brother Nicholas. Brother Nicholas, I am aware of the transition of your institution, St. Mugaga Boys Home in Uganda. Could you tell us what steps St. Mugaga Boys Home has taken in the process of transitioning? Was it easy? What were the biggest challenges you faced during the reintegrating of children back into the families and communities? Over to you, Brother Nicholas.
Thank you very much, Sister Mary. Thank you for your question. It is a good question. A journey of transitioning began with preparation of implementers by CHILDCARE for children in Uganda and their partners. And this involved many courses focused on appreciating family-based care, transitioning donors, and professional courses in social work and other courses like child protection. As I talk, I want to, as you said, have to share the steps we took in transitioning children. Is my voice clear?
Yes, go ahead.
Oh, thank you. So we started with sensitization. And in this sensitization, we had radio talk shows, church engagements, and community gatherings. We could talk to those people. Majorly, the radio talk show was wide. It could take our voice in many areas. This could prepare the people and the community for support. We are mobilizing for support to believe in what we are believing in. And really they helped us because those people, when you don't inform them, when you don't work with them, they turn against you in implementing the work. And in that, we are involving the government officials. It could not be I, Brother Nicholas, to go alone on a radio talk show or in a community gathering or the church. We could go with the government officials, let it be a probation officer, let it be local councils, so that they talk on behalf of the government. Then I, Brother Nicholas, I add on their voice. So when people hear the voice from the government and also from us, they take the message easily. So from there, then we did child assessment and case planning. As you know, each child is individual. We prepared them and we planned them accordingly. There are children who had a lot of fear. There are children who were desiring to meet their families. And so we did individual assessment and planned the cases according to the need of every child. Then we did also family tracing. We traced families. Wherever we could have just a small link, we could reach those places and find out, are those people there? And with the guidance of the locals, they could help us and find some of the families. It is a few cases that we failed to retrace the families. And some of the children, of course, we have transitioned them in community, in the independent living, as I will share. Then we also did family visitations and bonding. As we trace the family, then the child starts visiting, the family starts visiting the child at the CCCI, and also the child later got to visit the family. Like that, as they bond with that family, where the child will head after the whole process. Then from there, we could go to reunification. Reunification could start with preparation. For both children and their families, we are provided with counseling guidance to prepare them for reunification. This included setting realistic expectations and addressing any potential issues. Then reunification day, there we could take a child to the family. Then we did also family economic strengthening, because most of these families, they were separating with children because of poverty. So we we identified with the family what could help for, so that the child does not separate again. And we worked on that. Then from there, we did a follow-up visits and case monitoring.
Sorry to interrupt, Brother Nicholas, but you have 1 more minute. Thank you.
Okay, thank you very much. We did family visits and the case monitoring to see the cases that could be having challenges. Then from there, if we see that everything is according to our checklist, that case could be closed. We also followed almost the same in reintegrating children to independent living. We reintegrated only those who are 18 years and above, and we supported them to live on their own. And they are there. When you come and you visit those people who are once with us, you really saw that it is possible to reintegrate a child back to the family, and they are very happy. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brother Nicholas. Thank you for taking us step by step in the transitioning process. Thank you. Now, I'd like to turn to Sister Asarias. Sister Asarias, how are religious communities in India working to provide family placements for children who are waiting to return to their families? Your congregation, the Salesian Sisters of Don Bosco, I know is actively responding to the care reform that is gaining momentum globally. What steps has your congregation taken to make care relevant in today's context? Over to you, sister. Sister, you are muted. You are muted, sister. Gianluca, can you please unmute Sister Asarias? Sister Solange? Okay.
Yes, thank you. Now I'm unmuted. Thank you, sister, for this challenging question. I think this question needs to be answered from the basic reasons that cause children to land in childcare institutions in India. The main causes, what we see, are the poverty and lack of basic needs, that is, unemployment of parents, caregivers, or unstable income and working conditions, and inability to support children's education and other basic needs. Loss of parents or caregivers, poor family relationships and single parents due to broken families, conflict, domestic violence, divorce or parents going to jail, alcohol or drug addiction of parents or caregivers, poor health of the parents or caregivers, and lack of resources for medical treatment, neglect, abuse, exploitation of children, street children identified by social workers or step parents abusing children, child labor, and exploitation by parents or caregivers. These are some of the. Can you hear me?
Yes, go ahead, sister. We can hear you.
Yes. Yeah, thank you. So these are some of the causes which brings the child to the CCIs or the child care institutions. So now the pre-integration mechanisms and procedures used by sisters before children join their families are: sisters and staff at the child care centers conduct pre-release activities before children join their families to help children and families have long-lasting relationships and bonding. The child's reintegration journey starts when the staff of sisters and the centers discuss the reintegration with the child to ensure that the child agrees with the idea of returning to the family. And after this step, the staff of the centers discuss the reintegration of the child into the family with the parents or the caregivers. The following steps are undertaken. The staff and the sisters assess the family situation by visiting them to identify the feasibility of the child's reintegration. And sisters provide counseling to children and family members to prepare them psychologically and emotionally for the reintegration, because family relationships and dynamics are considered as one of the critical and criteria determining the success of reintegration. To manage their lives, children also are provided with skills training like job seeking or including life skills like cooking, yoga, crafts, mental health, and coping skills are also taught to the children. This is because the family's economic situation significantly impacts pre-release activities, and children also need to adapt to the situation of the family. Supporting the family during financial crisis and family conflict can be the only solution to making the intervention successful. So, sisters and staff visit the parents to help them mentally prepare for the reintegration of the children and create a conducive environment within the family. So, children receive counseling sessions from sisters to join their families where they discuss the emotional, physical, and educational aspect of their integration process. And as we are doing this, we also follow the 5 pillars of assessment: reintegration planning, preparation, reunification, and also post reunification support. So, in this order, we try to prepare the children and the family. So, sisters and staff talk about the importance of having good relationship within their family members and looking after the children. For example, we also discuss about nutritious food or the menstrual cycle of the child and the safety of the child while she is living in the family. So sisters and staff ask the parents or caregivers to make necessary arrangement, even if
Sorry,
like
Sister
renting.
Azaria, sorry. You have 1 more minute. Thank you.
Thank you. So, renting a house for a safe stay of the child, and the local community and the government authority actors are crucial in sustaining the reintegration process. Sisters work with the local community to ensure the child is constantly monitored and protected. They also identify local resources to support family during economic constraints, and the child welfare committee is important to ensure that proper documentation is arranged and relevant guidelines are followed. Thank you.
Thank you, Sister Asarias. Now I turn to Sister Yvonne. Sister Yvonne, I am aware that your congregation, Sisters of the Sacred Heart of Jesus and Mary, is committed to serve for the children with disabilities. Could you share how your congregation is working to provide family placements and prevent the separation of children with disabilities from their families? What type of programs do you have in place to prevent these children from being separated from their families? Sister Yvonne, over to you, sister.
Thank you, Sister Niluka. Yes, I'm going to tackle the issue of children with disabilities. So, as Sisters of the Sacred Hearts of Jesus and Mary, we are quite involved in working with children and people with disabilities throughout the world in most of our ministries. Disability inclusion is one of the focus areas for our ministries. In our work with children, youth, and adults with disabilities or special needs, we uphold their rights as equals to all and deserve family life like any other person in the world. So, in our programming of our interventions, we try as much as possible to engage families in supporting our clients, be it in schools or centers that we are running. Also, from the onset of our establishing our clients, in establishing our interventions. We work and collaborate with the governments and other stakeholders who have similar minds or who are working to some extent with special needs. And those who are critical to this kind of work, we try to bring them on board. In Zambia and Uganda, for instance, we have schools for special needs. What we have done in trying to make sure our young people, our children, stay in close contact with their families are the following services. We have weekly boarding. This is where children and young people, because of the distances to their schools from their homes, are brought in on Monday morning by their families, and then picked up on the Friday afternoons. So this calls for commitment from families. If this agreement is broken, it is not taken lightly to have good cooperation, and this has worked well, thank God, over the years. Sometimes also we have, or in our programming, Zambia and also Uganda, and to some extent in the Philippines also, we have daily pickup. So we have an arrangement with families where young people are picked up by our buses, some form of transport every morning, and brought to the schools or to the centers. And then in the evenings or in the late afternoons, again, they are taken to these selected points where the families pick them up then. In the Philippines also, we have a daycare center where young people with disabilities are brought, or they come in by themselves to learn, to socialize, and to learn different skills, and also where they are prepared for employment, for independent living. So families are involved, and it is a conscious decision for the two parties. That means for ourselves and also for the families, because we know this kind of children, our young people, are mostly sidelined, be it in making rules and policies and things like that. Then the other intervention that we try to do for those who are severely handicapped, we have home-based education, and now we are shifting to community-based inclusive development, where we provide interventions in collaboration with families and community volunteers, including local schools, clinics, in providing necessary support to our children and young people with disabilities. So basically, the intervention is taken to their homes, and parents or guardians to our young people or children with disabilities are actually trained in how they can look after or they can support the child or the young person in their development. Yeah, thank you so much.
Thank you, Sister Yvonne. We have completed the first round of questions, and I thank all four panelists for adhering to the allotted time. We will now begin the second round of questions. I invite webinar participants, please use the chat feature located at the bottom of your Zoom screen to type your questions to the panelist while you are listening to them. So my question is for Sister Maria Socorro. Sister Maria, what are the two main barriers the Daughters of Charity face in the process of winning the hearts and minds of the people for care reform? And how did you overcome them?
Are you talking about the challenges, sister?
Yes,
Okay.
right.
So first of all, the greatest challenge we face is the fast turnover of social workers the new ones have to be oriented again to the thrust of family strengthening, especially as regards the gatekeeping process. Also, some of our donors are still looking for the physical presence of children, especially for their outreach activities. And the children themselves love to stay longer in the institution because of these outreach activities of the visitors, where they eat good food, they receive gifts, and so it's harder to make them understand that they have already to return to their families. Some of our staff are also worried what will happen if there are no more children, but we keep assuring them that there will be other forms of services for the marginalized. In the case of abused children, it is harder to return them to their biological families or to kinship care, especially when the parents themselves are the perpetrators of the abuse. Encouraging also families that community-based services would be more beneficial for their children is also a challenge, and we keep on reassuring them that services will be provided. And of course, first and foremost is our need still for more financial security in terms of our family support services. We are still in the process of getting more donors to be sold to the idea that family strengthening and support services is far better than institutionalization. That's all. Thank you.
Thank you, sister. My question is for Brother Nicholas. Brother, you have mentioned that St. Mugaga Boys Home successfully transitions 93% of your cases. Could you guarantee that all the cases you reintegrate do not return to the institutions? If so, what is the secret of this success?
Thank you very much, sister, for this question. While it is challenging to guarantee that all integrated cases do not return to institution, St. Mugaga Boys Home has implemented a comprehensive support systems to minimize this risk. Our success lies in a multifaceted approach that includes through child assessment, case planning, extensive family tracing and readiness evaluations, regular family visitations, bonding sessions, economic strengthening programs for families, and continuous follow-up visits and monitoring. Additionally, we focus on community engagement and reducing stigma, ensuring both emotional and psychological support for the children and their families. This holistic supportive framework is a cornerstone of our high success rate in transforming children back into their families and communities. That's all that we have done. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Nicholas. Sister Yvonne, based on your experience, what are the two main reasons children with disabilities are separated from their families?
Yes, there are quite a number of reasons that children are separated from their families, and there are many contributing factors that contribute to this separation with children. I will share maybe two from my experience working and interacting with children and young adults with disabilities from their families. Basically, poverty, knowledge, and skills. So some disabilities also are too severe or too much to comprehend how to take care of the individual child with disabilities. And caregivers or families at times become overwhelmed and can't understand how to support the child or young adult with disabilities. The infrastructure also in our countries, in most developing countries, have a major role to play. It does not support the various disabilities, especially at home. The second one is stigma from extended family members and the community at large. Sometimes even close family members. The feeling of shame, curse, witchcraft, heavy load to carry for the family, and poverty in managing the expenses that are related to caring for a child or young adult with disabilities can and has contributed to individuals with disabilities being separated from their families. So basically, these are some, because but otherwise there are many, many factors that contribute to the separation.
Thank
Thank
you.
you.
Thank you, Sister Yvonne. Sister Asarias, when we were preparing for this webinar, I can remember that you were mentioning about two scales and the Thrive Scale methodology and the Happy Childhood Scale. Could you briefly explain what these two scales represent?
Yes, sister. Actually, all our child care institutions follow these scales while as a follow up to record the progress of the child, like before reintegration and the follow up of the reintegration. So, this Thrive scale uh, tool helps the social workforce plan and oversee reintegration so that the child and the family are safe, happy, and thriving. The Thrive Scale focuses on five well being domains: physical and mental health, education, family and social relationships, home finances, and living conditions. Basically, we have drawn this Thrive Scale from Miracle Foundation because they were the ones who initiated us into this process. And most of our childcare institutions have been following this process to settle. Once child gets settled, social workers follow up with the child and reevaluate the placements through child scale. And now we had underwent a study for all our centers, and as a result of this organized study, we have come across certain gaps which we need to identify. Following that study, we have come up with risk assessment tool and happy childhood scale. So, following the inspiration of Miracle Foundation, now we ourselves have invented this happy childhood scale. And the main outcome of the process of reintegration, we wanted to be systematic at the central national level office. So this scale will help us to identify the growth. So this will be used to track the well-being of children in families to make sure they are safe and permanently in a family. They would provide evidence to drive the decisions and ensure that all children enjoy their childhood in family. So the happy scale will focus on the same five pillars of physical, mental health, education, family, and social relationship, home finances, and living condition. And this tool will help us by tracking out. We have uh, different markers to mark the progress, as well as if the markers are becoming minus, then they will show uh, the danger, the risk factor the child is in. So based on this tool, we will try to work with the family to identify the factors which may be threatening for the child to be in the family, or if the progress is made well, this tracking tool will help us to mark them also to progress and follow the safety of the child. So these are the two tools supported by the risk assessment which we do as a continuous follow-up. So we provide mental health support for children and the family. We support with them with the education opportunity and nutritional support. Support family also with income generation and employment opportunities. Support children family through delivering rapid response or locally targeted help for those in need, especially in times of emergency, and prepare children with informed choices through life skill education and child rights awareness, so that they are also able to cope up their problems and solve their own problems, stress management and nutrition hygiene care. And we also provide periodic counseling for families. So these, whatever we are trying to plan the intervention for the family, the services we provide after integration, we try to track using this happy childhood scale. And based on that, we plan our intervention for individual children. Thank you, sister.
Thank you, Sister Yvonne. So now we have already completed our 2 rounds of conversation. And now I will open the floor for Q&A session. For this, may I invite Nicole Moran to get the questions and address those questions to the speakers. Nicole Moran is a consultant of the work as a consultant for the CCCI, Catholic Care for Children International. Yes, Nicole.
Yes, hello. I'm happy to meet you all. There are many questions in the chat, so perhaps it's difficult to select, but I start at the top. So there was one question from Sister Amy, and she was asking, her concern is the economic challenges facing families, and how do you manage to deal with these economic challenges? Sister Amy is asking, and perhaps you could share your experience with this.
So the question is posed to Brother Nicholas, right?
It's a question is to everybody, so
Okay.
Anybody can answer. But I
Answer.
thought, yeah. So how do you manage those economic challenges that families are facing?
Let me try to answer the question. As I've said, economic challenges, that is actually the major reason as to why many children separate from their families. That is the main reason we have always found, although it is always covered with many senseless reasons. So what we always do, we share with the family, if at all the family is there, and ask them the reason. And once we found out
I think we had...
sorry.
No, it's okay. Okay, ahead.
Once we discover that it is poverty that is making the family not to take the children, we take care of, first of all, we make assessment and find out the capabilities of the family, the resources of the family, and we start from there in planning with the family. We start with the resources available. If the family, some of the families here in Uganda, they have land, and you find the family is poor, but they have land, and the land is a resource. So they need, first of all, have food security. Once they have food security, and other needs will come. So we start with resources available to help the family. We don't come to give, but we ask the family, what can you do to help this problem? And what they tell us, we also ask them their readiness, their cooperation, how they will cooperate with us. And once we find that we will work with them for success, then we have resources, we provide something little, and they start from there, and many families have developed from there. For example, there's a case we reintegrated, and they told us that their challenge in northern Uganda, it was in northern Uganda, their challenge is food security. They don't have enough food. So what we did, we asked them, what can we do? They told us that the age of the household head is advanced. She was in 80s, so she can no longer dig. But they told me that they can, for them to dig, they use oxen, the cows, the way how they use them to dig. And that is what they asked only. So we had to get the ox plows and all the accessories, and we provided them. And I was there. I went there after 6 months. I went there with Catholic Care for Children in Uganda as staff. We found the whole environment was green, full of plants. They had planted enough food, even excess. I think they were going to sell. So because they identified the problem, and they helped us to identify the problem, and we pushed them. That's how we managed them. Now, after 2 years, we found that family is stabilized. Those children can no longer complain that they are not okay in their family.
Thank you very much, Brother, for sharing this. We have more questions, but there's one question for Sister Maria. So I'm interested to know the reactions of the sisters in your congregation regarding the transformation of childcare. What steps have been taken to get their buy-in for this transformation? Sister Maria, thank you.
As I mentioned earlier, we had the first thing we did after we finished the course, moving towards family solutions, the administrators had to conduct thorough seminars, making the employees, especially social workers, understand the transformation that we are going to move into. It's hard because even we, the administrators, had a lot of mea culpas. During the course, we regretted many things that we have not taken into consideration in the past. However, because we are all convinced now, our employees, our staff, especially our social workers, have all been oriented into it. The supervisors who are looking into the welfare of the children are sold to the idea. So we are looking for resources. We are doing community mapping, knowing all the resources in the community where we can, refer the families for help, whatever they have presented as their emotional challenges, as mentioned in the first question. And because of that, we don't really need to attend to all their needs because there are people in the city, people in the neighborhood, in the community who can respond to their different needs. But yes, I'm happy that in the last report given to me, one of our institutions for the past 2 years, or maybe less than a year, has moved 41 children. And so I think everybody's convinced. Our sisters are convinced because some of them have attended the classes too. And we have tried to disseminate advantages of family care all over the province. So yeah, we are really exhausting. If I add a little to what Brother Nicholas said, one of our steps, for example, is to really get to know from the families who would like to institutionalize their children, or those who are going to be reunified. We ask them what particular help will they need, and we try to respond to that. But of course, as I said, it's very important to know the resources in the community where we can refer them for certain needs. And it's also very important that we have a stable funding, convincing our donors that they have to continue supporting the children, even if they're no longer in residential care. That's the first thing that we did, is to convince the sponsors of the children that if they can continue supporting the children with their monthly donations, even if they're no longer in the institution, but they're already with their families. So that's somehow how we are doing it.
Nicole, you are muted. Solange, can you unmute Nicole?
Sure, sister, I will do it.
Thank you, Sister Maria. So there are also a few questions for Sister Yvonne. So one question is, what kind of interventions do you carry out in your outreach program, Sister Yvonne? Or are you mainly focused on the drop-in center? And also in regards to that education with children with disabilities can be quite expensive, especially this drop and pick up strategy. How do you manage to cover those costs? Would parents contribute? So one question around what you do as outreach, and then how do you manage the costs of supporting the children to come to your center? I'm not sure if we can hear you, Sister Yvonne. Okay, sorry about this. So perhaps
Sister Yvonne, are you there?
we are lost some. And perhaps we can okay.
Hello. Okay. Yeah. Sorry.
No problem.
Can you hear me? Okay. Yeah. So the first question was what kind of intervention in the outreach? Yes. So yeah, these are children and young adults who cannot, who are maybe have severely, or multiple disabilities, and it's difficult to place them in the schools, or even in special schools. So basically, what our staff, our sisters, when they go out, some, depending, they may only need maybe physiotherapy. Some will need to learn basic skills, working all the time with the parents or the guardians. That the caregiver also are trained in the different communities. They are trained in simple, basic physiotherapies, and also, yeah, basic also kind of maybe in education, literacy, for some of them are being prepared to go and start in the schools, in the special schools. Yeah, so those are some of the interventions that, but at the moment we are trying to kind of bring in a more inclusive way the other activities or other interventions that kind of target the whole household and the whole community so that everyone participates in helping or in the development of a child with disabilities. So including, actually including health programs or sanitation, all those things are now included in the outreach programs that we carry out. Yeah, so the focus is on the caregivers being the parents themselves instead of somebody else from outside to come in, because on a voluntary basis, we found that over the years people get tired. When they volunteer, they can volunteer for maybe a year, two, three, and they get tired. But if we train the parents, so we are now focusing on training the parents or the guardians or someone in the household who has interest, who was close to the child or the young person with disabilities. Then secondly, on the education parts, on the pickups and the like, yes, that can be costly. That is costly. No, like, I shouldn't say that can be. It is costly, and with the prices of fuel and the like. But we do ask parents, those who can afford, to contribute towards transport. So instead of the cost for the child to be in the hostel or weekly boarding, so that cost can be directed towards the transport. So that's what we do encourage the guardians. Yeah. I don't know if I've answered all the questions.
No, very good. Thank you very much, Sister Yvonne.
All right.
And now we have also two questions for Sister Azaria. One from Sister Shiba. She's asking, what are the cooperation you see from the part of the government to protect the rights of the children and support you in this mission? So it's about the role of the government and how it's supporting you in your work, Sister Azaria. And there is another question to you, Sister Azaria, from Sister Shamindani, on what are the guidelines that you follow in reintegrating the children. Thank you.
Okay, thanks for the questions. Role of the government. As you know, India is a ratified member of the UN, and as such, every child born in the country, it belongs to the state, and state has its own programs, laws, and acts to take care of the child and its own safety. So each government, each state has an allocation for the child safety, for the child welfare department. So while reintegrating, we also study the possibility of connecting these schemes available according to the needs of the families. So the child care institutions are mostly run along with the cooperation and with the recognition of the government. So when it goes for reintegration, the reintegration plan itself is worked along with the CWC, that is Child Welfare Department. So we work along with them and we identify government schemes and supports available. And there are also other outreach program through which we see. So as such, each government, state level government, has their own child protection policy, and the Act of Juvenile Justice Act of the country also extends certain pressure to the government to allot certain uh, care providing measures, and the budget also is allotted according to the child care for the particular department of the child welfare. So we as a social workers or the civil society organization try to study the possibility of taking this. And as you see, the government role, being the ratified member of the UN, India has the duty to ensure child protection and keep the institutional care as a last option. So, utilizing these, we study and we ensure that the child government role is played in the safety of children. And we also have a structure like child protection committees, which are working in the local level, the block level, and these are all linked with the social defense office, the office.
Sister Yvonne? Let's,
Hello? Yeah, she's gone, I think. Yeah.
okay. Okay, so we move perhaps to our next question. But I think Sister Asiria already gave us a good insight. So there was also one question now around financing. So as we know, working on childcare reform and reintegration children is not, it is involved with costs. So the question was, are you financed mainly by local donors or international donors? Or how do you see the financing part of your work? So any of the panelists who would like to answer to this question?
Um, okay, for us, it's actually on two part of it. For instance, it is the local people, the parents, the guardians themselves. They are contributing, as I said earlier on, to the transport, and also partly with funding from international donors. That's what is helping us at the moment.
Mm.
Yeah.
Thank you, Sister Yvonne.
Can I answer to that?
Yes, Sister Maria.
Okay. In our case, we have local organizations, local NGOs who are sold to the idea of family strengthening. So two of our child caring institutions at the moment are receiving a fund grant for that purpose. Although it's not really, not really very sustainable, but it helps a little. So we are still in the process of looking for more partners.
Thank you, Sister Maria. Yes,
Yes,
Asa?
for our case, of course, some donors, international donors, some didn't believe with the new global research that children can stay in families. And of course, we tried to help them understand, and we are still convincing them. Those who agreed, they come, but those who didn't agree, they went away. But the local community has been supportive for the idea and even in helping us. For example, Lions Club in our city, Ginger City, and Rotary Club of Ginger City. They have always come in to help some like for example, when a child is being transitioned, they can provide something little to help in transitioning a child. We are still engaging the international donors also to those who have not yet known the reason why we need to transition. We are sharing our success stories to see that they understand and appreciate the new idea. Thank you.
Thank you, Brother Nicholas.
I'm
Anybody?
sorry.
Hello? Yes? Okay, perhaps just check the chat. Yeah, working with the government is critical is another question here. What are the challenges that you face working with the government? So perhaps I think Sister Maria, do you have anything special to add on challenges working with the government?
Actually, the government will be very happy if they see us having this best practice of moving children fast to families. That's long been an emphasis, and the Standards Bureau of the government judges our standards based on how fast we move children back to their families. So
Thank you.
we can only move from one level to another in our standardization or accreditation of the government if we are really moving our children fast towards adoption, towards reunification back to their families, to their kinship care. So that's actually what the government wants us to do.
Thank you very much, Sister Maria. So I hand back to Sister Azarias. I see you are back. So if you would like to, because we were interrupted before you finalize your sharing, before I then hand back to Sister Niluka.
Yes, thank you. So I was sharing about the initiative.
Okay, I think unfortunately the connection is no good. So Sister Niluka, can I do one more question or perhaps you continue?
No, you can have one more.
Okay, so we had one more also. I had one directly here to Father Nicholas. How many children are currently in your institution? I think it's St. Mugaga's home, huh? And have there been any cases of children who returned to the home after being reintegrated into their family? And if so, how would you deal with such cases if children return back to you?
Thank you very much. We didn't experience any case return. Of course, they would be there, but we arrested the cases when they are still in families because we went into this when we are well prepared.
Economic strengthening. No, so we try to strengthen economically the family to keep the child and provide basic needs and therapeutic support and keep away the violence. And we also try to enable the community where the child is placed, not only the family but the community, so that they are able to monitor and assist. And we also try to ensure the child protection system that actually, as I have already shared, there are systems like child protection committees which are established in the villages, in the areas. So we have periodical meetings. So these guidelines we follow in reintegrating children to their families. I hope I have answered the questions.
Yes, thank you, Sister Azarias. Thank you very much for answering despite those challenges we all face on Zoom every day. So, but I just to finalize this Q&A, Brother Nicholas, would you like to just finalize sharing about children who may come back, which wasn't the case up to now, but what you would do?
Okay, so thank you very much once again. For us, like wherever we could find that this case might return because of the circumstances that are coming up, we could address those challenges. For example, one case, a father told me that the child has to go and study with the whites. For him, he had a mentality that whites are the ones behind the orphanages, and therefore they are benefiting. So we told them, no, it is actually not the whites, this is your child. So we involved the community to help him understand and appreciate that this is the child. The orphanage has been helping to do what it can. Now it is his turn. And in many cases of the kind. So, and if we see poverty, we address poverty. If we see maybe they are seeing some benefits, we address that with the psychosocial support to get another idea to change the mentality they are having in their heads.
Thank you very much, Brother Nicholas, for sharing, and thank you everybody for the questions. And I'm handing back to Sister Niluka.
Thank you, Nicole. Thank you for facilitating this Q&A session. Sister Solange.
Yes, Sister, thank you. Just to say to all the participants that there is a feedback survey. We invite you to take 3 minutes to complete this webinar feedback survey. Your feedback is valuable for improving our future webinars. So the survey will appear on your screen now. Please answer the question, and when you finish, you click on End Poll to submit. Thank you.
We have almost reached the end of our webinar today. I have a few important messages for all of you. First, I want to thank our 4 speakers, Sister Maria Socorro, Brother Nicholas, Sister Yvonne, and Sister Asarias. Thank you for your willingness to be part of this webinar. Thank you for your sharing your experiences and insights. Your contributions greatly enrich our webinar, and we deeply appreciate your time and effort. CCCI will continue with 2 more webinars planned under the same theme in the fall. We are aware that many congregations are championing care reform globally. We invite those congregations to join our global webinars as panelists or as speakers to share your experiences and insights with others who want to learn from you. If you are interested to sharing your learnings and experiences with us and with the wider group of religious, please write to us at CCCI@uisg.org or communication.ccci@uisg.org. As you are aware, CCCI is committing to support religious communities globally in finding the best care options for children. To this end, CCCI offers free online courses for those interested in bringing about changes in the care sector. We currently offer 2 foundational courses, Moving Toward Family Solutions and Fundraising for Change. Moving Toward Family Solutions is designed to help you understand why we need to change the way we provide care and what this change looks like. It also covers the processes and resources needed to leading this change. To date, 7 groups of religious and lay participants from various countries have completed this course. Starting this year, we are offering this course in 2 languages, Spanish and English. Our next moving toward family solutions cohort is scheduled to begin on August 28th. If you are interested in learning and connecting with others who are transitioning from institutional care to family and community-based care, this is going to be an excellent opportunity to learn from experts and peers. Additionally, we have developed another course, Fundraising for Change, to empower religious community with the fundraising skills needed for transitioning care. So we invite you to take these opportunities to update your knowledge and skills, making your childcare ministries relevant and life-giving in today's context. For more information about our courses, please visit our website at catholiccareforchildren.org. All our courses details can be found under the training section on the website. So our website is available in 4 languages, English, Spanish, French, and Italian. We apologize for not being able to answer all your questions due to time constraints. However, we encourage you to forward your questions to us, and we will do our best to get them to our panelists and provide you with their responses. Please be in touch with us. Thank you all for your active participation. We look forward to seeing you in our next webinar. So God bless you.